Our next speaker specializes in corporate innovation, entrepreneurship, and technology. She leads the progress of Unilever Foundry in Asia by enabling the company's global brands and experiments to become more efficient in scale. For the last 10 years, she has worked with numerous startups in Singapore, from e-commerce platforms to digital mapping. She advocates Singapore's startup ecosystem and entrepreneur community, and she believes that they have the power to transform the region by creating real business opportunities.
And yes, she is also a mentor for young startups. She speaks regularly on corporate innovation. She hails from France, so we gotta be prepared with our welcome cheer later on, where she comes from. But her childhood was spent in Algeria and Congo, and now she's based in Singapore with her family. To give us a better grasp about fostering innovation through collaboration, how Unilever partners with startups, let us welcome the head of SEAA and Level 3 and the Unilever Foundry, Ms. Barbara Guepillon.
Hi everyone. So yes, I am French. So yeah, big round of applause for the French. I just feel super old now because I do remember 98 and I feel it was yesterday. So I'm like, oh, that's really, really not good. But anyway, I've been living in Singapore for 16 years. So being in the region for a while, extremely excited to be here. Be here to talk to you about how the big guys can actually collaborate with the small guys, and also what the small guys can learn from us. So I have been an entrepreneur. I had my own startup. I failed, otherwise I won't be here, but I would be in Silicon Valley. But that made me actually in a very great position. And I think I have one of the coolest jobs in Unilever, because I'm helping connecting startups with Unilever and Unilever with startups. And that's what I'm going to try to talk to you about. So just a quick reminder who we are. We are a very, indeed, big company, 400 brands, 190 countries, $60 billion turnover. It's not always easy for startups to work with us, which door to knock on and who to contact with. But also, as a big organization, we have a responsibility, but also an opportunity to work with startups. And that's what we have been trying to do. I'd like to start with this slide. Everybody have been talking about technology this morning, our two previous speakers. But I like this slide very much because it's really about, it works for both startups and corporates. How did you go bankrupt? I went bankrupt. I know what it is. And actually, two ways, gradually and then suddenly. I think it can speak to a lot of us here, whether you are a corporate or you are a startup. And it's very important to keep this in mind. And that's why we have to innovate, not only with technology, but also innovate in the way we embrace that new culture of change. And I'm very glad that Paul explained had this presentation this morning before me, because I can then go very quickly on this. But this, for me, is a very good illustration how in the last 20 years, you managed to put an entire store of electronic in the back of your pocket. And that's, you have to remember that technology, it's moving fast, and it will certainly not slow down. Not only technology, but also new business models. Companies like ours, we are a FMCG company. Brandless, I don't know if you've heard about Brandless. Brandless is a US-based company. It's a direct competitor to ours, and yet it has been created by a very, very young entrepreneur. So what I want to make sure that everybody recognize here is, first of all, today, it's very, very easy to create a startup. And I know I have entrepreneurs here, and I know it's risky to be an entrepreneur, but it's easy. You have access to capital, you have access to technology, you have access to the clouds, You have access to a lot of talent. You have crowdsourcing, you have crowdfunding. If you want to create a chatbot, you can access to the Google bot, the Amazon bot. You have access to those technology that what you can think of is the experience. And again, what Paul was saying earlier is very, very true to that example. You can create new experience. The technology and the money are there, and that will only accelerate those innovations. And that's why our categories, we are a soap and soup manufacturer, are not immune to those disruption. And we recognize it. We recognize it, and we know that we have to embrace that change. We can innovate internally, but we can also recognize that the best ideas may not come from the four walls of Unilever. We have to be open to what's happening outside. The world is unpredictable, and technology is moving fast. So we have to build an organization that embraces that change, that learns how to collaborate with startups, and embrace those technology change. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about, and I will share several examples. Several real examples about how we have collaborated with startups for the last 4 years. So what's Unilever Foundry? Unilever Foundry, we call it a platform for collaboration, but it's not just a website. Startups don't go to website anyway. So Unilever Foundry is really an opportunity for our organization to talk, meet, and work with startups. I don't know how many corporates we have, and I know we have both corporates and startups. But when you are a corporate, when you are a brand manager, it's very difficult to work with the startups. Why? Because you do have an element of risk working with the startups. Startups goes fast, it's scary, and we are not 100% sure about the results. And that's why for our organization, we need help to actually work with those startups in a more efficient way. So Unilever Foundry provide that framework for experimentation. We allow our people to work with startups in a safe environment. We engage them to experiment, to try new things. We are basically at the crossroad between brands, understanding their technology and their strategy, and the technology and how they can work together. We are helping them to be pioneers. I know we have a few Unilever people in the room that have been working with Unilever Foundry. It is exciting and sometimes risky to work with startups, but at least if it doesn't work, it can be put on the foundry's head. So we've been around for 4 years now. We are working and looking for startups from around the world. I am based in Singapore. My role is to support Unilever business in Asia, which means that my team goes across the organization, talk to brands and functions, and ask them where we can see an opportunity for technology to bridge the gap, to help us, to accelerate, to better reach to our consumer, to improve our efficiencies. So I look for those business briefs, and I communicate those business briefs to the startup. And we are looking for startups from around the world, even if I'm based in Asia. And we are looking at specific areas like marketing tech and ad tech, which is still 60% of the briefs we are tackling with. We are also looking at CMI, consumer market insights, enterprise tech, which is technology around supply chain, around sustainable sourcing, finance, HR. We are looking at product and ingredients or new business models. I will share with you very specific example right after. So it's been 4 years, one of the oldest corporate innovation program. We're still around because we are delivering value to the business. We have spent $30 million in pilots. We are not only talking, we are actually also walking the talk. And note that I put here 30 million spent in pilots, not investing. What we are doing is we are accelerating startups by giving them business opportunities. And we are giving them the opportunity to run a pilot, but to run their business with us. When they do that, they will, of course, put a new logo on their presentation, but also they will learn from us. We have done 150 pilots globally. Only last year in Singapore, we have done 28 pilots for Asia and 45 scale-ups. So we've been around, like I said, because the program delivers value to Unilever, and it's through the scale-ups. Doing pilots is interesting. It opens your mind. It gives you access to that new technology. But scale-up is when we manage to work with a startup in more than 8 countries and 10 brands. So that goes. That's how scale can bring a startup far away with Unilever. But it's only 1% complete, so we are still growing our opportunities to work with startups. Here is some example that I've brought to you. Genero, it's a company from Australia, which is doing user-generated content. I like the example of the lorry. The lorry is a last-mile delivery solution that we've been working in Singapore for Malaysia. We are now expanding in Philippines and Thailand. After a 2-month pilot, we've just signed a 3 years partnership. I will show you the example of Digital Genius in a video case study and try and review with a Singapore-based startup that we've been working on. We have been working with some Filipino startups. I haven't had the opportunity to put the case on the slide yet, but we've been working with Admov or Next Billion very recently. So I'm going to show you a video case study. I like that case study because you'll see the technology that we are talking about, and that was actually 3 years ago. So this is what a brief looks like. How can Knorr answer the question, what's for dinner tonight? We are looking for an opportunity to reach a consumer who do not have a smartphone. That was in 2013. So let me play the video for you. Done. Can you press play? Okay.
As Knorr's growth accelerates across Africa and Asia, we need to explore new ways to engage with people in these markets. One of the key challenges is that the primary device in these markets are basic and feature phones, and with that comes a primary form of communication, which is text-based messaging. For us, the challenge was, how do we answer the question of what's for dinner tonight? We put this challenge to Unilever Foundry, and we're interested to see what solutions might come back.
At Digital Genius, we are building artificial intelligence combined with natural language processing that allows us to automate tens of thousands of real-time conversations.
And we have an amazing team that delivers this technology to some of the world's largest brands and corporations. When we first heard about Knorr's brief, we thought, wow, it's an amazing opportunity to make our technology available to millions of people worldwide. Through working with Unilever and wider Knorr team, we've built Chef Wendy, an artificially intelligent chef that helps customers to cook better meals using Knorr products every day.
A user can simply text the ingredients they have at home and immediately get a response with the dishes they can cook. This has also allowed Unilever to build a very big database of personal profiles of many customers they can now use to push targeted campaigns of their new products.
This system has proven to be overwhelmingly successful, with engagement being far higher than with other digital channels. Even more, we're reaching and crafting relationships with people we had no access to previously.
Working with Unilever is an amazing experience. They helped us to find a new use case, a new opportunity for our technology in an entirely new market. And now, following a successful pilot, we are working together with Unilever to scale this across different markets, different brands, different products, and make this system available to hundreds of millions of people worldwide.
So I like this example because we are talking about natural language processing, which today we're calling chatbots, where it is everywhere and we are using them more and more to engage with the consumers. But that was back in 2013, 2014. I like this example also because in the video, the young guy is 21 years old. He did say that we help him to find new use case. When we work with Unilever Foundry, we are first looking at the technology and how technology can help us to bridge the gap. And then we will look for the best startup in the country we want to deploy. When we reach out to Digital Genius, their solution were not exactly fit for that. And they were still looking for the right business model. They worked with us. It was indeed a massive success, but that success almost killed the startup. And I know, and that's an advice that I also give to startups, is it almost killed them because it was not scalable. When we talk about scale for a company like Unilever, again, it's 190 countries. It's 400 brands. So the costing that you are thinking of and the scale that you have in your mind needs to be with that magnitude. I'll give you another example. I was working in Indonesia with a company called Ruma, and we were about to engage with chefs, cooks. And the solution were able to, allowing us to connect with 5,000 chefs. The brand team said, yeah, we like the methodology, we like the technology and the platform behind, but we cannot connect with only 5,000 chefs. That's not our sampling size. We need to connect with 500,000 chefs. So this is where we as Unilever can also help startups to find the right business model at scale. Today, we're still working with Digital Genius. They have changed their model. They are now taking care of all our customer care platform for our brand.com website. We have expanded also the use case with Clinipedia, where you take a picture and it tells you how to wash your clothes. And Hellmann's was also going to use Chef Wendy as Chef Wendy. Another example of a company we've been working with in Singapore is a try and review, where, again, the objective at the beginning was how can we do quick and fast trial for our new product development. And we reached out to several companies and we tried to work with Try and Review, which has a very simple a platform that allows us to have 95% response rate when we send sampling to people in the region. They worked very well with us. We started to work with Lux in Singapore, and the pilot was very successful. And again, if we have corporates here in the room, the pilot was successful. The global brand team was very happy working with Try and Review, and they put their startups in their global guidelines. It's the holy grail for startups to be in the global guidelines, which means that technically anyone from around the world can work with you. But yet, no traction. No countries were actually going to engage with Try and Review. And when I tried to understand what was going on, I very quickly realized that we had a big communication issues between the startups and Unilever. So I'm going to Alexia and I said, so how's the business is going now with Unilever and with Lux? Have you expanded? It was the first brand they were working with us. And she said, well, I don't know. I have no one responding to my email. No, it's not moving forward. So I'm going to talk to Lucius from Lux and try to understand, hey Lucius, what's going on with Try and Review? I thought you were happy and we're going to work more with them. Yes, but the countries are not interested and we do have a problem. They are not integrated into our e-commerce strategy. I said, that's weird because I've just spoke to Alexia and e-commerce is on the roadmap of the next product development. The two were actually not speaking the same language, but speaking about the same thing without not knowing. And that's what Unilever Foundry is here as well, is to help that communication happening between startups and corporates. And I know there is a lot of startups here, and they will understand what I mean. Another example where we've been looking at influencer marketing very recently, and you do have many platforms of influencers. And how can we pick the best one? How can we pick the one that fits the most our needs? So we've been working with a brand called Pons, and we've tasted actually 5 startups at the same time. With the help of Unilever Foundry, we help them to go through scope of work, KPIs, and then identify which one of the 5 platforms were the best one. We retain and work with 3. And it's still early stage. We are not yet at scale, but we are about to scale. So that was a very good. It's still a good journey we are on. Next billion. The brief was very unusual from our brands. It was about how can we reach to a consumer in rural areas where there is no connectivity, no data, no phone, and still, I don't know if you know, but Unilever revenue is about 60% from emerging markets. So rural areas are very, very important to us. So how can we reach out to them? We find this startup called Next Billion. And what they're doing is they're going from villages to villages. They are playing movies, and between the movies, they're playing commercials, which help us to raise the importance of dental hygiene and hand washing in those rural areas. We've been working with them for 2 years. We are now started in Bangladesh, and we're now expanding in Myanmar. But in the Philippines, together working with these startups, we are developing new ways to support mom and pop shop and in a sampling program. So the lorry, I've also just mentioned it. So the lorry help us to deliver 9% saving on last mile delivery. E-commerce being growing a lot in the region. We've been working with this startup in Malaysia and now expanding in the Philippines and in Thailand. So what about new business models? I know we've been talking about new services and the economy of services, which I think is somewhere we are going to. So we are exploring ourselves and opportunities to change the way we sell our product. We are soap and soup manufacturer, like I said, but what if one day we don't need to wash our clothes anymore? I mean, will we be gone? What if, and I believe that will happen, what if one day you go on Instagram, you pick up your clothes for tomorrow on the picture that you like, you press send, and in the morning it got 3D printed and delivered in your house. Or you have a 3D printer in your house actually. And in the evening when you're done, you just put it back in the basket and it will 3D print again and again. You don't need washing machine anymore and you don't need soap powder anymore. We're not there yet, but still we are in our mindset thinking about those new opportunities who are coming to us. So the first example that you have on the left side of the screen is called Co-Wash. Co-Wash is a pilot we've launched in France. So when we are on strike, for instance, we have time to do hand washing. Co-Wash is a new model we're trying. It's peer-to-peer hand washing machine. So you go on your app, you call for someone to pick up your laundry, he takes it, wash it at his place, and send it back to you. It's working very, very, very well, especially with millennials who do not have the space for washing machine in their small apartments. In the middle, we have Persil with ZipJet, which is a pilot we've done in London. After 1 year, we decided to stop that pilot, but we are launching a new pilot in Indonesia with Tap to Pick, which is also a laundry services solution. What's interesting here is we have 3 pilots, one in Paris, one in London, one in Indonesia. And through the Foundry, we are all working together to get the learnings and to redevelop and co-develop those new solutions in markets that we think are relevant. So knowledge sharing is very, very important. And we learn as much as the startup is learning when they are developing their solution. So just before no, it's not lunch break yet. I know we're a little bit late, but I would like to leave you with 2 things. Can I have a raise of a hand for how many startups are in the room? Okay, yep, okay. And the rest, I guess, how many corporates? Like real big corporates? Okay, so I just wanted to leave you with some food for thoughts, which I think are important, whether you are a startup or you are a corporate. And so, If you are a corporate, three very important things. You have first to acknowledge that the best ideas will not always come from your four walls. You have to look outside. You have to be open on what's going on outside. We've seen for our two presenters before that technology is moving very fast, and it's certainly not always moving in your own company. So you have to, of course, come to this type of conference that we have the chance to have. But you have to acknowledge that you need to work with those entrepreneurs who are pioneering the future. If you want to work with the startups, you need to have the clarity. Why? Why do you need to engage with these specific startups? What do you need to achieve? What is your brief? What is the challenge you want to solve? You need to have that clarity, and you need also to have the clarity on what success looks like. First of all, you have to realize that what success looks like for you and what success looks like for the startups will or might be different. You need to understand what is the objective here. And the last point, it's proximity. You need to get close to a startup. You need to meet them. You need to talk to them. You need to listen to them. They will also listen to you. If you are a startup, very important thing is scalability. If you want to work with the big corporates and Unilever or the like of Unilever, you need to understand scale. You need to understand that even if you are Filipino-based startups, you need to think global. You need first to think scale within the Philippines, not only Manila, and then potentially scale outside of the Philippines. That's the only way we can have a long-term relationship with startups. Now, scale can mean different things for different people. If you're based in Manila, scale can mean only for the Philippines, but then you also need to adjust which company you want to talk to. Passions, that's very, very important. Yes, big companies are a bit slow. We do have some processes, but we also have great expertise. We also have great opportunities for you to try your solution. So be patient. It will always worth the wait. And the last thing is also proximity. Talk to corporates. Don't think you know it all. I know you are a startup, you're an entrepreneur, you've just raised money, you have a massive tech stack with AI in it, or blockchain, or I don't know what other tech, but just stay close to corporates, to business owners. So that proximity will help you to build better solution. And that leads me to my last slide. It's something new that we launched about a year ago, only in Singapore, only in Unilever in Singapore. It's a co-working space for startups. So it's actually more than just a co-working space. It's an ecosystem that we are building for startups. One of the biggest mistakes I have done when I had my own startups is I was not close enough to the people who were going to use my solution. So we have decided to... It's almost done. Yeah, I'm almost done. We have decided to build an ecosystem for startups. If they are successful, we are more likely to be successful. This ecosystem for startups, this co-working space is based within our headquarters. For those who came to Unilever offices in Singapore, we have 8 floors, and in the middle of the 8 floors, we have a staircase that is going from up to down. And the last floor, the 3rd floor, is a space for co-working space. We have people going up and down every day from Unilever, having coffee downstairs, meeting with startups in a very organic way that leads to real opportunities. We also have policy and government leaders in the region. We have thought leaderships. We have academics coming. We have investors, VCs. We organize a lot of community events, breakfast and lunch. Every Tuesday, you have an opportunity to present your startup to Unilever. What I mean here, it's level 3, is not just a co-working space. It's an ecosystem for both corporates and startups to work together. One thing I forgot to mention, I did say corporates. The space is also open to other companies who are willing to work with startups, not to roam around and look at cool tech or cool cool startup working there. But if you come and you have a real program to engage with startups, you can also engage with Level 3. Today we have Cargill, Syngenta, Microsoft, I'm going to forget some, ST Microelectronics. We have about eight of them who are here to try IoT, to try AI, to do a lot of demos, etc. So that's it for me. I hope I haven't been too late. I really engage everyone, whether you are corporate or startups, to check out the Foundry website to understand what kind of subject we are working on, and the Level 3 website where we have the 5 pillars. And I am done. Thank you.
Again, Barbara, thank you so much for sharing more about the ecosystem of the Unilever Foundry. If possible, can they drop by the Unilever Foundry and ask more questions if we've got startups who want to join or possibly apply for them as well? Again, thank you so much, Barbara. So again, if there are startups here who are interested in participating or being part of the Unilever Foundry, would like to apply or have questions, Barbara's just here on table 31 if you want to ask more questions. And again, our hashtags can still be used inside PH 2018. Please feel free to upload again your comments, suggestions